Loretta Lynn, she says on national television, and I have the data on it, I heard it myself, she said that she was made successful in her singing career by a dear friend of hers that was the same age as she, and died when she was 18 years of age. One night I was sitting in bed reading a book, and she says, who walks right through the wall with the spirit of my friend? And she says, Loretta, I'm going to make you a very famous person, and I will be with you all the time. Trust me.
But wasn't your father 100% behind you? You tweeted something recently that I find fascinating. What if life is just an illusion? I thought that was interesting.
Why do you think it's interesting?
Because I think that a true spiritual life, to live in connection and alignment with all that is God, that is nature, means you're living in the magical space.
Well, I think that's really beautiful. And I think that's right. I think that's correct. Having that balance with a spiritual side is a balancing act. I love being reminded of a higher power by God's magic. I love that.
When you get into a secret society of spirit worshippers, and especially when you're invited there by the direction of the higher-ups in the spirit world, you never get out of there alive. Because as soon as anybody strays, the spirits will tell the high priest right away what's taking place.
So you were moving forward more on fear.
More on fear, yes, because the high priest said that the master had special plans for us in our lives, and that no one ever went into this society unless they were invited by the spirits. And he also expressed to us the danger of going against the will of the spirits.
So in reality, Roger, you were chosen by high-powered demon spirits to be a part of their human, special, privileged group.
Wasn't there a time when if you did magic that good, they killed you?
Yeah. In the beginning, if you were able to do magic, they thought you were a witch or a warlock and so forth. I just bought this big magic collection. One of the greatest things in the collection is this first magic book. It's called The Discovery of Witchcraft. It was written in 1584, and it was written to expose magic, to show, hey, don't burn us magician guys. We're just guys doing cool stuff, you know, who knew how the tricks worked. And this explained how all the magic worked, just to kind of save lives.
He says that there's a great controversy going on between the force of good and evil, between Christ and Satan. And they always praise the great master, Satan, as a super intelligent being that he is, beautiful to behold, and if he ever appears to you, you won't be able to look upon him because he'll be too bright. He devised a way whereby people would disqualify themselves from being members of Christ's kingdom. They were to see to it that humans would be made to believe that Satan and his angels do not really exist.
Magic has helped science and magic's helped art is very important to me.
It's been around a long time, too, hasn't it?
It's the second oldest profession, as they say. You know, at that time, it was more of a fostering of belief in the supernatural, in the spirit world, more of a religious thing. If a guy was able to do what I could do, he would use that maybe a little bit illegally.
Yeah. The most feasible ways is to please the spirits is to deride Christ and his people.
Who's the greatest magician, Dave, besides yourself?
David Blaine.
Jesus Christ.
The presence of ghosts and spirits have been documented for centuries. In 1931, the Barclay House mysteriously burned to the ground. All of its occupants perished in the fire, but some say they live on. Can the dead return? Without camera tricks or video effects, David Copperfield confronts the spirits of Barclay House.
Do you believe in ghosts? If you don't, before the night's over, we might change your mind. I'm David Copperfield, and welcome to a night of magic.
They were to see to it that humans would be made to believe that Satan and his angels do not really exist.
Let me out of here! I want out of here! Let me out of here!
The medium said a spirit will manifest itself openly. It's like a big gust of wind hit the building, and that translucent being seemed to come right out of the wall. It's almost like my heart stopped a little bit. So it was a lady in a beautiful evening gown, and she said to Mary, "My dear sister, you are so wonderful to have asked for me." And Mary fainted and fell right off her chair, and spirit gone.
That's how you got into it.
Yeah.
When we go about to socialize, don't close your eyes and don't try to hide. Or a silly spook may sit by your side.
You see, there are no material objects in the spirit world, so we have to provide the spirits with objects so they can show their presence.
Wizards and witches, wherever you dwell, give us a hint by ringing a bell.
Roger, as you came closer to making a full commitment to God, did the demons try to prevent you from making that commitment in any way?
Well, I didn't have to wait too long. There was a marker, a sheet of paper actually, that had been cut in half. I had put it on the table, and the piece of paper started to levitate and move around the room. And then the sheet of paper came and stood about a foot above my book. So after a while, things start moving around the place. A picture on that wall goes and sticks itself on the wall, and there's nothing to hold it up. And the light that was on the table moved and stayed in midair. It stays there.
There's a wide range of phenomena that physical mediumship over the centuries has been supposedly able to produce. Objects levitating, chairs, tables, objects in the room.
You see, I've been traveling around the world collecting artifacts, items that people say are haunted. They say if you concentrate hard enough, you can awaken the spirits inside these objects and cause the objects to move without explanation.
Goblins and ghoulies from last Halloween, awaken the spirits with your tambourine.
Monitored by a team of internationally renowned scientists and investigators. Many will find it unbelievable.
Based on, supposedly, the communication or contact between a medium and the spirit world. The spirits are using the medium as a conduit to cause these events to happen.
Oh,
hoping to capture what visitors to Skull said they had witnessed, the levitation of solid objects. And what we captured was truly astonishing. This heavy oak table rose into the air.
We're going to try to concentrate and awaken the spirits inside this table and cause it to rise up into our fingertips. Feel it rise. Feel that table rise. Slower, slower. Feel it rise, and it will rise.
Breathes and cries, toads in a pond. Let there be music from regions beyond.
Hurry back, hurry back. Be sure to bring your death certificate if you decide to join us. We've been dying to have you.
The supposed spirits of the dead that you're talking with are demon spirits, your fallen angels.
Well, one of my all-time heroes is Orson Welles.
Say these words after me. I despair of my sins. I despair of my sins. O God of all goodness, how could I ever have offended thee? Of all goodness.
Not many people know this, but Orson was a terrific magician. And the day after he died, I got a letter in the mail. It was from Orson. Well, David, I finally made it to the hereafter. I'd love to do some magic with you when you have the time. Give me a call. I'm staying at Shirley MacLaine's place. Here's looking down at you, your friend, Orson. Well, tonight, I thought I'd place that call.
Am I any clearer now?
Ladies and gentlemen, not an imposter. The real Orson Welles.
Oh, Dave, I'm in a terrible mess. I'm directing a picture, and I've got 90 million things to take care of. I've really got my hands full.
After endless fake ghost TV shows, here at last is a documentary that presents the real evidence. The experiments featured in this program have been described by the scientists who witnessed them as some of the best evidence for life after death ever.
We had 1,000 hours of continuous communication with the spirit world. Be quiet, be quiet, be quiet. Marie.
For 5 years, the Skoll experiment continued to produce a vast range of extraordinary phenomena. More than in any other experiment in the history of the paranormal.
If a spirit person manifests, everybody can see what happens.
I think it's fair to say that when you have sittings with physical groups as successful as the Skoll group, you will see miracles. You see things which cannot be explained under normal laws of science.
Familiar spirits, our spirit guides, the witches believe, are spirits of people who have died. We know from the Word of God they're demonic spirits. They're the angels that fell with Lucifer.
He said, if you think that's amazing, wait, he says, until the spirits impersonate one of the departed people that you know, personally, like an uncle or a brother or a sister or something like that. He says, that is unique. You are able to reproduce a voice, man, and just to perfection. The spirits are exceedingly proud of this.
So much of my magic was inspired by the work of Walt Disney. What he did with story and emotion and detail, I try to work into the magic that I do. You can hear sounds from inside, very strange sounds. It's as if the ladies of the house aren't aware that they're dead. Their spirits have been trapped inside all these years, and now they're crying to be free. Everyone be still. These curtains were taken from the house before the fire. They're an item the spirits are familiar with. We're going to lift the curtains and try to arouse the spirits. Tonight I'm going to be the medium. the go-between between the spirit world and our world. So if anything should take place inside our room, I want you to be sure it's the spirits and not me using any trickery. No self-respecting spirit would show themselves in the light, so we're going to create a little darkness with this curtain and see if we can make the spirits manifest themselves inside the room.
Roger, as you came closer to making a full commitment to God, did the demons try to prevent you from making that commitment in any way?
Well, I didn't have to wait too long. I was not sure in bed that the lights went on. I got up, went turn the lights off. Get back to bed, the light goes on again. I said to myself, there's no use getting up, turning the lights off. You're going to put them back on again.
When I did magic, I found I could do it very well. It became very easy to me. It was kind of a knack that I had. I'm not sure why, but I became very, very comfortable.
You were chosen by high-powered demon spirits to be a part of their human, special, privileged group.
When I did magic, I found I could do it very well. It became very easy to me. It was kind of a knack that I had. I'm not sure why, but I became very, very comfortable.
You were chosen by high-powered demon spirits to be a part of their human, special, privileged group.
Rock musicians get their music from spirit guides, which are demons.
This is a motherfucking icon in his field. He the greatest that ever did it. Poof! 100 mil! David Copperfield! David Copperfield! Hey! David Copperfield! Poof! There go the car. Poof! There go the crib. Poof! 100 mil! David Copperfield! David Copperfield! What's up, man? You showed me a lot of love with that record, you hear me? Salute, legend. Thank you.
And we had the same bedroom. That's how much money we had.
You slept in the bedroom with your parents?
No.
Until you were?
12, I think.
Get out!
Poof, there go the car. Poof, there go the crib. Poof, 100 mil. David Copperfield. David Copperfield. David Copperfield. Poof.
Baby, don't forget about us, please. Baby, let's turn this way. David, over the David, together.
The spirit says, we'll destroy you. And he laughed. He had this was frightening. He had this laugh that caused me to think immediately of the laugh that Nero must have had on his face when the lions were tearing the Christians apart.
Poof, there go the car. Poof, there go the crib. Poof, 100 mil. David Copperfield. David Copperfield. David Copperfield. Poof.
David Copperfield was born David Seth Kotkin, September 16, 1956. Childhood was a lonely experience. He was an only child, and in the apartment complex where he grew up, there were no other children. David was alone in a world of adults.
When I was a kid, I didn't think I fit in at all. I was an only child, and I lived in these apartments where there weren't any other kids my own age. So I'd sit outside by myself, and I'd dream, so I wouldn't feel so alone.
He'd spend hours watching Paul Winchell and Jerry Mahoney.
Come on, let us hear a cheer from everyone.
And soon his parents bought him a wooden brother, a ventriloquist dummy.
Now I'm the sheriff.
Giddy up, clicker!
David would corner his neighbors and put on shows for anyone who would watch.
He would take his dummy to camp when he was a little boy.
Abracadabra, I sit on his knee. Presto, changeo, and now he is me. Hocus pocus, we take her to bed. Magic is fun. We're dead. Oh!
Magic, a terrifying love story, starring Anthony Hopkins, Anne Margaret, and Burgess Meredith. Rated R.
Abracadabra, I sit on his knee. Presto, changeo, and now he is me.
The Word of God says the sins of the parents are visited upon the children.
I think it's just a natural primal human urge, isn't it? That you feel powerless in a situation where you've been hurt, and you look for power in other ways.
The knowledge of the occult is spreading because people think that with it, they are more special than the person next to them. And that's why they become involved.
You say that magic and becoming a magician as a child really allowed you to escape from childhood in many ways. What were you trying to escape from? You told my producers that your mother was lovingly abusive. What is that? How is that?
You get hit when you're a kid?
Oh, God, yeah.
I mean...
Yeah, I got whipped regularly by my grandmother.
We had the same bedroom. That's how much money we had.
You slept in the bedroom with your parents?
No. She was really, really rough on me and tried to persuade me both verbally and, and physically. My mom had a belt with metal tips, and she'd come after me and left some marks. It was really painful, and it was over little things, big things. That was the way of doing it. And it was very harsh. It made me really, really strong. There is a God. There is, because He made sure that I was emboldened by it. I was strengthened by it. So I really owe so much to her for that. I hate to say it, for that pain. She was, giving me the tough stuff. And later in life, I'd say, Mom, I appreciated that. I wouldn't do it to my child, but I appreciated that because it worked. For me, it worked out okay. I took them back to my house in my old apartment in New Jersey, where I grew up. Just as almost catharsis, I recreated the hitting, and my mother used to feed me eggs every day, soft, lukewarm eggs.
Ugh.
I don't eat eggs anymore.
Yeah.
Like this with a spoon every morning in bed, like that. We even took pictures of those moments just to kind of cleanse ourselves of this
really?
experience.
Did you do that on purpose, to go back to that space, bring them in that space?
For me, it was kind of like
purging them.
Close the circle and then boom, we're
Let
okay.
it go.
As they do these things, they break down all the barriers holding the devil back. And just literally, they become a human chalice. They fill up with demons. And when they're done, they have a very powerful supernatural witch. The stronger the witch, the more demons that they have allowed in.
Approval was what he sought, and he got that in the 5th grade when his teacher asked him to MC the talent show.
I was so nervous I didn't know what happened, but after I finished the performance, I walked back into the classroom and all the kids applauded. It's never happened to me before, having that approval from people. Having that kind of warmth from kids who could be cruel one day or friendly the next day, hot and cold. They were all very warm to me. And I said, this is a job that I want to keep. This is something I want to do.
David said once that
one of the things that he was blessed with.
So the priest said, look, fellas, I'm not going to pressure you into anything, okay? But I want to show you what the spirits can do for a devoted servant.
So the high priest was showing you this to give you an idea about the kinds of blessings that you would receive?
Right.
And, you know, I've been very blessed to find ways of doing it and to be given this kind of privilege to be the one to kind of share that.
One of the things that he was blessed with was knowing exactly what he wanted to do from very early on. He knew he wanted to be a great magician.
J. David Copperfield was born with knowing what he wanted to do from a very young age, with the talent and the intelligence and the drive to accomplish it. Ain't nothing normal about that.
You were chosen by high-powered demon spirits to be a part of their human, special, privileged group.
Was there ever an occasion when your mother told you that your aunt, Goldie, was your guardian angel?
Yes. When I was born, she had a vision. My Aunt Goldie came and sat on her bed in the hospital, and she said, I'm so glad you had a little girl and you named her Goldie, and I'll be watching her.
Familiar spirits, our spirit guides, the witches believe, are spirits of people who have died. We know from the Word of God they're demonic spirits. They're the angels that fell with Lucifer.
Anybody in the last 2 years that's come on television must be an initiated witch. To be a member of their staff, actors and actresses, you must bear the scar of initiation. Any of the new shows coming on, you can just check them off. Those people belong to a witchcraft or Satan's brotherhood somewhere, or they wouldn't be there.
I meditate. I do a lot of study. I have a very strong discipline.
To feel God is what's really important. It's a feeling.
Buddhism is a religion. It's a path of goodness. It's a path toward happiness. It really is a wonderful path to go down.
Before I was in my teens, I thought it would be cool to become a ventriloquist. It turned out this place that sold props for ventriloquists was also a magic shop. So instead of walking out with a new dummy, I ended up with a bag of tricks.
But it was a weekend trip to a New York City magic shop that forever changed the trajectory of his life.
Searching for a new dummy, David's parents took him to New York.
We did go on a weekend to New York, and the first thing David did was go to Yellow Pages and Manhattan Directory and go down magic, on the word magic. We found this name, Tannins.
David's life would never be the same. Tannins was a landmark institution, and everyone who was famous in the world of magic came to Tannins. Tannins became the center of David's young world. He bought magic tricks and eagerly read how-to books. His mother faithfully shuttled him there every Saturday. One Saturday, the store's manager, Tony Spina, tried to discourage young David from buying the dancing cane, feeling it was beyond David's level, but David insisted.
Loretta Lynn, she says on national television, and I have the data on it, that I heard it myself, she said her spirit friend tapped her on the shoulder. And she said, Loretta, I'm going to make you a very famous person, and I will be with you all the time. Trust me. And she got on the stage, and she started to sing, and her spirit friend started to sing for her. She said her voice went through me, the power.
Monday morning, there's David and his mother outside the door. He takes out the dancing cane and starts to perform it. I was totally amazed because he did it better than anybody I've ever seen, better than any of the pros.
He was a child prodigy, learning tricks that even the most skilled magicians struggled to perfect. At age 12, David was so adept at magic, he became the youngest person ever admitted to the Society of American Magicians. By the time he was old enough to drive, he was a professor at New York University, teaching the art of magic. 2 years later, Divino, the boy magician, as he was then known, became David Copperfield.
David wanted a name people could remember. He chose David Copperfield and put an ad in Variety boasting of his talents. The ad put in Variety caught the attention of a producer casting a show in Chicago called The Magic Man. He needed a young magician to play the lead. David got the part and moved to Chicago.
When the show closed, I starved in New York for a year, and my dad would slip me a few bucks to pay the heating bill. I sat in my apartment, inventing magic, finding the right music, and staging routines. I knocked on a lot of doors and sent out a lot of videotapes.
Loretta Lynn. Loretta was trying to get into the singing world, you know, but she says I had no success at all. Until one night I was sitting in bed reading a book, and she says, who walks right through the wall with my friend, the spirit of my friend? And she says, Loretta, I'm going to make you a very famous person, and I will be with you all the time. Trust me.
Now, when you would go to these praise sessions, what kinds of things happened?
A lot of success stories. The masters has done this for me and that for me. The priest mentioned to us that the time had arrived for us to start trusting the spirits and give the spirits a chance to work for us.
David finally got his big break in New York when he was asked to perform in a show called Magic at the Roxy. The response to David's appearance on the show was overwhelming. Suddenly, he was in demand. Still in his teens, David was booked as the sole headliner at Tannen's annual Magic Jubilee. David would perform before an international assembly of his peers. 1,500 magicians from around the world sat in judgment, intent on catching that one mistake that might discredit the teenage magician.
It was incredible because you start to get this chill. Here's this young kid, 18 years old, and at any point after the first 3 or 4 effects, he could have stopped and get a standing ovation.
There's something interesting about the human mind. You can adjust to a lot of things that would terrify you to begin with. After a while, they become common and ordinary.
So you mean contact with the supernatural can become commonplace and ordinary and doesn't bother anybody?
Yeah.
In other words, the more that you do it, you're not uncomfortable.
That's right.
It's just not an uneasy feeling.
And when he finished, everyone, 1,500 people, looked like somebody pressed a button and jumped up to give him a standing ovation.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Beatles!
The worst thing that the occult world ever planned out and carried out. That's called rock music. Rock music is actually satanic spells being cast and being planned by the Satanist church.
And her spirit friend tapped her on the shoulder. And she said, Loretta, I'm going to make you a very famous person. Trust me.
Television producer Joe Cates. Timing and luck came together as David knocked at his door.
David walked into my office and introduced himself and said, I'm David Copperfield. I said, like hell you are.
You've never given a blowjob? There's nothing to it. It's so easy. Relax your throat muscles. Don't bite. Just slide it in. Slowly, in and out. Just practice.
Phoebe Cates.
Cut.
Cut. Whoa. We don't have to cut that. Now, obviously a lot of guys around my age or a few years younger, I mean, we grew up, that was one of the great kind of sexy images of our time.
Trauma-based mind control to develop a totally robotic human being involves horrendous sexual and psychological and physical abuse, multi-generational abuse, and that begins, by the way, at birth, and child pornography. These people who are abused become very receptive to external control of their mind. I'm approached by a number of avid researchers that say, well, this is Satan behind it.
He said, I'm David Copperfield. I said, like hell you are. He said, no, I'm David Copperfield. I'm a magician. And he said one thing that captured my interest.
And her spirit friend tapped her on the shoulder. And she said, Loretta, I'm going to make you a very famous person. Trust me.
One day I got a phone call to be the host of a TV show. I was 19 and I couldn't believe it.
And he said one thing that captured my interest. He said, we'll take the same 6 or 7 familiar tricks, but we'll unify them within a theme. He made them an homage to Alfred Hitchcock or to the man in the white suit, Cary Grant.
You know, my idols were Gene Kelly and Fred Astaire and Charlie Chaplin and Walt Disney and...
Your two biggest heroes are Orson Welles and Houdini.
I love Houdini, yeah, and I love Orson Welles. I also like Muhammad Ali, Martin Luther King Jr. And yeah, but those are probably the 4 biggest heroes.
One of my idols, as far as trying to be as many areas as possible, obviously inspires all of us. Leonardo da Vinci, amazing on so many levels. Channing Pollock, very handsome man, also an actor in the movies in France. This is Jack Codell. Arthur Lloyd, Mr. Electric, doing magic with light bulbs. On TV, I remember watching the Ed Sullivan Show, his wife appearing in that light bulb. Incredible. Joseph Cotton, Agnes Moorehead, remember from Bewitched, and Dora from Bewitched. All the actors were in the show.
Bewitched was put on by the witches. My foster mother was one of the producers. I practically grew up on the sets.
Louise Huebner, that's my foster mother. Probably one of the main reasons that witchcraft grew, it and Dark Shadows. Bewitched was written by a witch.
My idols were people like Frank Sinatra and Orson Welles and Gene Kelly and Fred Astaire and people that told stories, Walt Disney.
He made them an homage to Alfred Hitchcock or to the man in the white suit, Cary Grant. And I thought that was a marvelous idea.
Cates took the idea to ABC president Fred Silverman.
But at the time it was a studio system, and Harry Cohen controlled Columbia Pictures and controlled the actors.
Cates took the idea to ABC president Fred Silverman.
2 of the major networks in this country are completely Illuminati owned, lock, stock, and barrel. ABC and CBS. And NBC is 90% Illuminati. Try getting a serious Bible-believing program on TV that preaches hardcore gospel. It'll never happen.
But Silverman resisted.
Fred said, I don't want another variety show. I said, no, we won't do that. I said, how does this sound? The Magic of ABC. And Fred said, who's going to host it? I said, don't worry about that.
The Magic of ABC, starring David Copperfield.
The Magic of ABC starred David as a magician promoting ABC's lineup of shows. It was such a big hit, every network offered David a spot. CBS won.
The Magic of David Copperfield.
And more than 20 primetime specials followed.
Human beings get accustomed to a lot of things. You get supernatural strength, either from good or evil. So the priest said, look, fellas, I'm not going to pressure you into anything, okay? But I want to show you what the spirits can do for a devoted servant.
In 1995, Madame Tussauds Museum in London unveiled a wax likeness of David flying. That same year, David was inducted into the Hollywood Walk of Fame and became the first living illusionist ever to receive such an honor.
The magician picked up the Chevalier Knight of Arts and Letters Award.
Given by the French government, an award for writers, filmmakers, and artists. The award had never before been presented to an illusionist. David now had attained one of the most important goals of his life. He had helped elevate magic to an art form.
With 21 Emmy Awards, 11 Guinness World Records, and sold-out arenas around the world, 55-year-old David Copperfield is the most successful magician in the history of the world.
The Magic of ABC, starring David Copperfield. With special guest.
The special was to introduce ABC's new fall lineup of shows and stars.
Penny Marshall and Cindy Williams.
Here, along with his guests, Cindy Williams and Louis Nye, more of the magic of David Copperfield.
And I thought your hands were amazing.
And the girl everyone would love to have next door, from Laverne and Shirley, Miss Cindy Williams. Miss Cindy Williams. Look at that quite an outfit you got there.
Thank you. It's my magician's outfit. Tonight, you are going to witness the debut of the great Cindini.
What do you have in store for us? Oh, great, Cindini.
Ah, funny you should ask, David. Actually,
The television has a very absorbing nature upon people. You begin to accept that what you see on television is reality.
We began each show by opening cold on a close-up of the face of a major star.
Join me as we watch dramatic illusions unlike any you have ever seen on television.
Who would look right into the camera lens and say, you are about to see something spectacular.
Performed with a style unequaled by anyone in the world of magic.
That opening 20 seconds by a big star set David up. 20 seconds later, when he comes out, you tend to accept.
They watch him, and these are nice, clean-cut figures.
David was presented as the clean-cut, all-American boy.
Surely, from their television shows, that's just the way they are. But it's not so. One of the most powerful witches in the United States is on television. She's a homosexual. In fact, the young lady she lives with in marriage is a very famous rock star. Now, this nice, clean-cut American girl has one of the top situation comedies on television. Most people watch it on Tuesday night when they don't have anything else to do, like pray. It's called Laverne and Shirley, and the girl's name is Cindy Williams, that plays Shirley. Now, that's the real world out there. It's not the world that you see on television.
ah!
And here are two of my favorite reasons for staying home on Tuesday night. Penny Marshall and Cindy Williams.
Our housekeeper came down. She said there was something evil in the upstairs back bedroom. All of a sudden, she just felt this cold, and she said everything bristled on her in this ghostly mist. Went around her like this, and then floated in front of her, and then she dropped to her knees and started praying, and she said all of a sudden it went whoosh, and it was gone. And she said, I can't stay here, I'm sorry. And she left.
You see, I've been traveling around the world collecting artifacts, items that people say are haunted. I have an incredible museum of magic that's dealing with all the artifacts of all the great magicians of the past. Their posters, their programs, their books, hundreds of thousands of magic books.
Welcome to my secret, top secret, International Museum and Library of the Conjuring Arts, with items belonging to Keller, Houdini, Thurston, all the great masters of the past. And this area is the Houdini section, that has everything that Houdini was famous for. Behind me is the water torture cell, the milk can, the mirror cuffs.
Your warfare is not physical, it's spiritual.
When you take something that belongs to the devil into your possession, you're asking for trouble. Certain objects are inspired by the spirit of Satan, by demonic influence.
If you're going to live in his territory, he's going to live in yours.
When I did magic, I found I could do it very well. It became very easy to me. It was kind of a knack that I had. I'm not sure why, but I became very, very comfortable.
And I said to the spirit, you want to talk to me? The spirit said, yes. The master has tremendous plans for your life. Fame, honor, respect, wealth. He said, we've worked for so long, over the years, to prepare you for the master's work.
We're with David Copperfield, one of the best magicians of all time. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling very good. It's warm out. Thank you for the weather. You can give me credit for the weather because, you know, I'm a magician.
That happen.
I could make it happen if you want to give me the credit. That's true. I was walking around about 10 years ago at Caesar's Palace, and a guy came up to me and he said, can you please fix my son's headaches? I've been to every doctor in the world. I have lots of money, and I just need your help because I know you can do it. And I said, well, you know I'm an illusionist. What I do is create the illusion of enhanced reality. If I was alive many centuries ago and was maybe a little disreputable, maybe I would have been encouraged to kind of start my own religion. I can understand how a guy would want to not just sell tickets in a theater. It would take that ability and have many followers rather than ticket buyers. I could understand how that line got crossed a lot. It's amazing that I still believe in a higher power after the knowledge that I have about the many biblical things that could be created by someone who had the ability that I have. For that one moment, you know, you can, I look at people's faces, you can kind of start a religion at that moment. People like, really like, you know.
Who's the greatest magician, Dave, besides yourself?
David Blaine.
Jesus Christ.
Consulter of familiar spirits is a medium. That is somebody who asks the spirits to guide them. How many of you have used the Ouija board? That's the consulter of familiar spirits.
What the? Monica, what are you doing? Hey! Monica! What are you doing? Oh my god, Monica! Monica, calm down!
Now what I want you to do is I want you to go through the book. I want you to select a word. Any word you like. Don't tell me what the word is. Have a word in your mind. Close the book up. Put it on the table. Do you have a word in your mind?
Yes, I do.
You do? Okay, put it over there. It doesn't matter. Okay, now look at me and think of it. Look at me and think of it. I want you to see each letter in the word right now. See the first letter here, then go to the second letter, then another. You're at an H right now, am I correct? There's an H. There is an H. There's an O in there too? Yeah. You see, it's interesting because I believe...
I'm scared now. What the hell is that?
He would talk to the spirit, and then the spirit was audible to him. See, you could hear the spirit talk to him, but the man did not hear.
Oh my God.
Mouth. Boom.
Oh my God.
Is that it?
It is, yeah. Oh my God. No way. How the heck did you do that?
You let a fortune teller tell your fortune. You obtain the same spirits from her that she had. If you went to a medium and sat in a seance, you obtained the same spirits. If you went to an astrologer and had her do your chart, you received the same spirit. That's why God said, no, you don't need it. You have my word, you don't need this. It's demonic power, and the word of God says, For all that do these things are an abomination unto the Lord, and because of these abominations, the Lord thy God doth drive them out from before thee. That's why he wiped out the land the Jews were in, so that wouldn't touch them, because that's what was going on. And all of the time the Jews dwelt in that land, they were surrounded by people who did this. Now the Christians are surrounded about it. Welcome to the club.
The New York Times calls David Copperfield our era's giant of magic.
This is my 5th time, and it keeps getting better.
The last one made us cry.
USA Today calls him astonishing.
Funny, moving, and amazing. What's the best show I've ever seen?
David Copperfield.
He is absolutely awesome. Love the show. We would see it again and again and again.
See, you could hear the spirit talk to him, but the man did not hear. So the spirit was telling him the clairvoyant what he called himself an astrologer, reading the moons and the stars, and
An observer of time. What's it mean? Astrology. People argue with me that astrology is all right because the wise men were astrologers. No, they were following a star that had appeared in heaven. They were astronomers, not astrologers. You stop becoming a Scorpio and a Taurus when you become a Christian. I find it very beautiful when somebody walks up to me and says, what sign you are? I said, the sign of the blood of Jesus. That's all you have to say. You're not a set personality. If that's so, then the Word of God is a lie, because it says you're supposed to grow in the Word of God and have the fruit of the Spirit, and that's the only sign you should have.
And he says, the master, he says, they take care of you. This lady and her husband brought him, this astrologer, a bundle of money. My guide, spirit, says, ask them when they're going to give you the other $1,700 that is really yours. And he says to the folks, I would like to know now, before we leave here, when will you have the $1,700 to give me? The wife fainted. The husband says, we'll have the money for you within 24 hours. See, you could hear the spirit talk to him, but the man did not hear.
So he was thanking the demons for helping him to know that.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. Even spirits, yeah.
Believe me, I would offer the first engagement in the Oval Office to David Copperfield. I got a few things I'd like to have him make disappear.
NBC's Andrea Mitchell tells us tonight, new reports of Mrs. Reagan's reliance on an astrologer raise new questions about national security.
In her book, My Turn, Nancy Reagan says she relied on astrology as a crutch. Astrologer Joan Quigley told NBC News she and Mrs. Reagan talked constantly, sometimes several times a day. Quigley had veto power over the scheduling of all presidential press conferences. She advised when it was safe to travel, when he should hold a summit.
I also changed their evil empire attitude by briefing them on Gorbachev's horoscope. She was calling me 2 and 3 times a day.
Adolf Hitler attempted to build a sinister new world order. His inner circle, who had strong ties to the occult, would help him to accomplish this goal. Deputy Führer Rudolf Hess, whose correspondence reveals a devotion to astrology and forecasting by the stars. Joseph Goebbels, Hitler's Minister of Propaganda, whose diary records his use of astrological forecasts. And Heinrich Himmler, whose personal papers reveal that he was the master occultist of the Third Reich.
And according to former White House officials and Quigley, the astrologer was involved in everything. She picked the departure time for the Reykjavik summit, the optimum time for signing an arms control treaty, the best time for the trip to Moscow. Described by friends as superstitious, almost mystical, Reagan was inclined to defer to his wife's wishes.
No, that's bad luck.
I have learned not to argue with her superstition.
Former aides say Ronald Reagan was a man who read his horoscope and the funnies before the rest of the paper. They say he wasn't only indulging his wife, that the former president also believed in astrology.
Senator Byrd had acted in the capacity of a pimp and prostituted me to Reagan, and I was present at this White House cocktail party. My sexual experience with Bill Clinton was extremely limited, in spite of the fact that I was a sex slave. It was my experience that Bill Clinton is bisexual, leaning far more towards a homosexual end. All I've ever seen him involved in a homosexual activity, with very limited experience with him myself, whereas my experience was much more prevalent with Hillary Clinton, because Hillary is also bisexual, leaning more towards a homosexual end, and it was she who accessed my sex programming to fulfill her perversions.
That's why I support marriage for lesbian and gay couples. I support it personally and as a matter of policy and law. Gay rights are human rights, and human rights are gay rights, and that the United States would be a leader in defending those rights. And when I changed State Department policy to ensure that our LGBT families are treated more fairly. Now, there were some countries that did not want to hear that, but I believe America is at its best when we champion the freedom and dignity of every human being. That's who we are. It's in our DNA.
Because up to that time, you could walk down a street of Paris and you would have signs that would say, well, you have a soothsayer or fortune teller of some type, and if you want to put a curse on someone, you could go and see this other old lady over there, you know, the old witch, that's the way it goes. But now it had to change. Lucifer says, we have to make sure that people get to believe that Satan and his angels do not really exist. It was decided that Satan would tutor Charles Darwin personally. Anyone that teaches a theory of evolution is considered to be a minister of a great religious system, because it is a system of schooling people and getting them to disqualify themselves from being members of Christ's kingdom. And he said that every teacher of that theory is recognized by the spirits as a person of great value and receives a very special unction from Satan himself, giving great power to induce spiritual blindness, to convince, and convert.
But to find the true source of wonder, all you have to do is look straight up. Because after the planets, and the moon, and the tides, came life. It was beautiful.
Shirley MacLaine's experience of getting involved with Spiritism and with the supposed inhabitants of far distant planets in the galaxies, I taped the whole thing. It's 3 hours.
And you were hearing the fulfillment of what this high priest had said 45 years ago.
Yeah, exactly. The Master's grand plan for harvesting the multitudes of the earth into his cause. Demon spirits will declare themselves to be inhabitants of far distant planets in the galaxies. The spirits will, through a trance medium,
what is known today as a channeler.
Channeler, yeah. Okay. Converse with influential people. Due to the fact that the millions of the earth believe people having an immortal soul, people are going to eat the stuff. Just if you readily accepted, they will claim to have out-of-body experiences.
Astral projection.
Yes, right. Goes into different parts of the world and sees things and come back, and then they write all about it. You know?
I've heard of that.
every day for as long as I can remember. I'd close my eyes and imagine I'm somewhere else. But I'd really feel like I was there. Close my eyes and travel to the other side of the planet. And tonight, I'm gonna live it.
Good evening, my name is David Copperfield. Let's get started right now. Everybody go like this, everybody go like this. Go like this. Everybody, at home too, go like this. Everybody try this. Close your eyes, close your eyes. Close your eyes. Do it, close your eyes. And imagine yourself anywhere you want to be in the world. Really picture yourself there. Really feel it. I'll close my eyes and travel halfway around the world in seconds. I'm going to a little island off the coast of Hawaii. Right there. And I'm going to take somebody from the audience with me. But not yet.
Firewalkers. And it's done by the power of the evil spirits. These people are energized by evil spirits, so they can walk on those hot coals without burning themselves.
I'm going to tell you a little story. It takes place in Tibet.
I've heard so many things about you. I've been traveling all over Nepal on a quest for real magic. And everyone who I've met, everyone who I've seen, everyone I've talked to has said to meet you. So it's an honor, so thank you. You know, maybe we can share about what you do.
Of course, we can talk to you.
My eyes still had kind of a look. People that have been around witchcraft or been in witchcraft know the look I'm talking about. And my eyes still contained this look. And finally, the church decided if it was good enough for Paul, it was good enough for them. And they demanded that the spirits that I had allowed in myself, through asking them to come in witchcraft, to leave. But Paul, being grieved, turned and said to the spirit, I command thee in the name of Jesus Christ, not Mary, not Yahweh, Jesus Christ. And it was said by a person who knew him personally, a personal relationship. In the name of Jesus Christ to come out of her, and it came out the same hour. When I walked out of that room, I no longer had any psychic power. You call the demons out, the psychic power stops.
You see, in Tibet, if you want to prove your love to a princess, you have to present her with a crystal necklace.
So I brought this with me. I'd like to give it to you as a gift. Okay? Look.
Thank you.
So, the thing that I hear the most about you, and you can tell me if this is true or not, is that you have power of levitation. And as a magician, this is something that I'm fascinated with.
Your magic is fantastic, but we're not the same the Buddhist meditations.
Maybe I could just witness it.
He would talk to the spirit, and then the spirit was audible to him. See, you could hear the spirit talk to him, but the man did not hear.
It's not easy to understand. It's like an ocean. It's very deep. Keep your mind open. And always continue to learn.
there's, I don't see anything. This is crazy.
They were to see to it that humans would be made to believe that Satan and his angels do not really exist.
This man, whose name is Ovaku, is an African shaman, and here we can see him preparing himself for a levitation. This will take place as soon as darkness begins to fall. There are no hidden supports or pulleys to be seen. In spite of this, Ovaku actually rises off the ground, and it seems as though he is floating on a cushion of air. The German commentator cannot believe his eyes.
Most of the women there were nude and semi-nude, and they were all sitting around in this white circle painted on the floor. And inside that circle was a five-pointed star. And on the candles lit at each point of that star. And they were inside that thing, and they were singing, and they were chanting, and they were humming. He said, because we've been charging the air with all of the spirits.
Incontrovertible proof that levitation is indeed possible.
She told me about being bounced up on her bed, 3 o'clock in the morning, you know, from the ceiling down to the bed, thrown on the bed. I told her, lady, I said, you're being demon spirit oppressed.
The shaman's breathing has become unusually fast, and his face is contorted with the effort of the undertaking. Could the technique which we are witnessing here be the very same technique which is said to be practiced in India? Ovaku then suddenly drops back down to the ground like a stone. It seems as though the very same field of force which appeared to hold him up in the air has now been totally used up. The shaman is completely exhausted.
He can also fly.
In a national survey, I believe it's over 75% of people do not really believe in a real tangible devil. But there is one.
Oh, yeah.
David Copperfield is one of those few artists who've become an icon in American culture. His name is synonymous with magic. For 40 years, David Copperfield has transcended the limits of reality. He appears to have superpowers. With 21 Emmy Awards, 11 Guinness World Records, and sold-out arenas around the world, 55-year-old David Copperfield is the most successful magician in the history of the world.
When you do 500 shows.
600 this year.
How is that possible? But okay. 600 shows means you're doing 2 shows a day.
Sometimes 3 a day. No days off.
No days off.
Right.
And that you have done more performances than any other human being, really. More than the Beatles, more than Madonna, more than Elvis, more than anybody. Guinness Book of World Records for most performances. Why are you that hard-driven? Because you don't have to do that now.
So the priest said, look, fellas, I'm not going to pressure you into anything, okay? But I want to show you what the spirits can do for a devoted servant. They were to see to it that humans would be made to believe that Satan and his angels do not really exist.
If I didn't have to eat to sustain myself, I wouldn't eat and sleep. You know, there's just stuff to do. Let's do it. Some people think that makes me crazy, but I guess I am. That's what I do, defy Mother Nature. And the most powerful force of Mother Nature is the tornado.
David Copperfield is listed in the Guinness Book of World Records as the most popular solo entertainer in history. Outselling Madonna, Michael Jackson, even Elvis. Hi, good to see you. Tonight on Next Chapter, David and I sit down for a rare and intimate conversation.
God, in the essence of all consciousness, isn't something to believe. God is.
Yes.
God is. And God is a feeling experience, not a believing experience.
That's right.
And if your religion is a believing experience, if God for you is still about a belief, then it's not truly God.
To feel God is what's really important. It's a feeling.
6 years ago, David wanted to create a second home. In typical over-the-top Copperfield fashion, he didn't just buy an island paradise. He bought a chain of 11 private islands. Located 85 miles southeast of Nassau, he named them the Islands of Copperfield Bay.
Hello, how are you?
Since I was traveling down to the Bahamas, I had a quick visit with my friend Tyler Perry, who also has a private island there.
You know what the question is that a lot of people ask me all the time? How did you make it? How did you make it? Well, I'll tell you, there's only one answer for that. It was nothing but the grace of God. Nothing but the grace of God. God himself has to give the increase. Only God can make the sunshine. Only God can bring the rain. Anything you want is possible. If I didn't believe it, I wouldn't take the time to send this message to you. Take care of yourself.
Now, when you would go to these praise sessions, what kinds of things happened?
A lot of success stories. The masters has done this for me and that for me.
So the high priest was showing you this to give you an idea about the kinds of blessings that you would receive?
Right. The most feasible way is to please the spirits, is to deride Christ and his people. This is a form of blasphemy, a form of deriding Christ.
Last week we tried to answer the question, was Jesus a black man? We figured, can't be because he always on time. He always on time.
The island life's good, huh?
Island life is good.
Tyler gave me a ride on his boat to David's private islands. David Copperfield, the master magician, used his boundless imagination to create a real-life paradise on Earth. His 11-island chain in the Bahamas is so remote, the nearest town is an hour away by boat.
Musha Key is 150 acres of ultimate privacy, out pretty much in the middle of nowhere. We have a lot of celebrities come here. Because of the privacy out here and because there's not any paparazzi, it becomes their favorite place.
Billionaire Google co-founder Sergey Brin hosted his wedding here. Oscar winners Penelope Cruz and Javier Bardem pulled up on a jet ski here to exchange vows in a private ceremony. In 2007, a woman claimed David Copperfield lured her to his island and sexually assaulted her.
When a case like this one comes down to a he said, she said, there's no independent witnesses or so on. Well, Copperfield pulled Carol out of the audience at a show back in 2007. That's how they met. She says he then invited her to his private island in the Bahamas, and she claims that's where he sexually assaulted her and threatened to kill her. They were looking into this criminally, and then she filed a civil lawsuit against him, and now both have disappeared. So, Lise, does it mean he did not sexually assault this woman?
No, of course not. I mean, the only magic that may have happened here is that Copperfield's legal team, pulled this rabbit out of the hat, not rat, and made this lady disappear. With surveilling her, with sending all these subpoenas, all these requests for personal information, not just from her, Megan, you gotta kind of understand that, but her friends and her family. She just felt barraged by this over the last couple of years. And by the way, the criminal charge did not go through, and I used to work in that U.S. Attorney's Office. I mean, I know all these folks. Did not go through because of jurisdictional reasons, okay? And by the way, her attorneys are equally as reputable in the Seattle area. So come on, they wouldn't have brought a frivolous lawsuit.
My mom had a belt with metal tips, and she'd come after me and left some marks. It was really painful. And later in life, I'd say, Mom, I appreciated that. I wouldn't do it to my child, but I appreciated that because it worked. For me, it worked out okay. And she said, I didn't do it. I didn't hit you. I never hit you. And this is before the Alzheimer's took charge. She really convinced herself she didn't do it. I didn't do it. Really, Mom, it's okay. You could admit, no, I didn't do it. She really convinced herself that it didn't happen. And this is years and years of tough love.
Well, Copperfield pulled Carol out of the audience at a show back in 2007. That's how they met. She says he then invited her to his private island in the Bahamas, and she claims that's where he sexually assaulted her and threatened to kill her.
To be falsely accused of something that horrendous is a devastating thing for yourself, your friends, your family, really bad. I didn't do it. Really, Mom, it's okay. You could admit, no, I didn't do it. She really convinced herself that it didn't happen.
I know you don't wish any harm to anybody, but wasn't there a part of you that went, whew?
Well, I'm working on forgiveness about this one, but I definitely pray for her.
Yeah.
When we do a destruction ritual, first of all, it's for the purpose of eliminating these pent-up hostilities that you've bottled up inside of yourself.
Right. What is a destruction ritual?
Well, we believe in vengeance. We don't believe in turning the other cheek. You keep turning the other cheek and you run out of cheeks.
I'm working on forgiveness about this one, but I definitely pray for her.
What is a destruction ritual?
But I definitely pray for her.
The FBI confirms earlier this week, agents raided David Copperfield's Las Vegas warehouse. FBI agents took a computer hard drive, a memory chip from a digital camera system, and as much as $2 million in cash. This FBI investigation is reportedly because of an alleged incident in the Bahamas involving a Seattle woman. Fox News is reporting that the woman says Copperfield raped her while she was in the Caribbean nation.
I always try to remember that my partner on stage could also be a romantic partner.
Yeah, it's my job. Press up against me, cheek to cheek. It's very important that I feel the vibrations. So, Paige, take your right hand, and put it on my leg. Could you press a little harder, Paige? Good. Don't let go, whatever you do. That's it. Go with it, Paige. This is Bill Clinton and Monica Lewinsky. Those are good vibrations right there. That's not my leg, Paige. But you are welcome anytime.
Put your hand on my hand. Now rub. Now rub, go ahead. Rub? Yeah, rub. I like this, Barbara. Okay, and keep rubbing, Barbara. You guys are very good, but I remember Mara. I must tell you.
Yeah, of course, of course. David.
Poof, there go the car. Poof, there go the crib. Poof, 100 mil. Woo. David Copperfield. David Copperfield. David Copperfield. Poof.
6 years ago, David reportedly paid $50 million for this pristine beach property. He decorated the 5 guest houses, the outdoor and underwater spaces, and designed his own beachside movie theater, Dave's Drive-In. Select items from his famed Houdini collection are housed in a climate-controlled room. David, his fiancée Chloe, and daughter Sky share the islands with giant turtles, peacocks, toucans, and colorful parrots. Each day during low tide, out of the crystal blue waters rises a stunning 2-mile sugar white sandbar.
People really do want to believe. I want to believe in something supernatural, and everyone does. The thing is that I have not seen anything in person yet that hasn't been done by anything but physical means.
I like to have you, says, meet some of our people. You're invited to one of our services.
Like a church service?
It's a testimonial to the spirits, well, how the spirits have blessed your life. We went to one of the most beautiful area of Montreal. The place wasn't mentioned. It was beautiful, most beautiful place. Yeah. By the way, there are also in other parts of the world elite spirit worshippers like the group that we had in Montreal. See what they had? They had a praise session to the gods, which is the spirit counselors, which are in charge of legions of demon spirits. They talk about what the Lord of their lives has done for them, because they call on particular spirits. The master of my life has revealed to me that it is time for you people to become acquainted with the worship room of the gods. Well, we started to move toward a beautiful grand staircase beautiful. The banister was huge. It was massive. And the wrought iron work that they had done in it was super. The beautiful decorations on the walls, the chandelier on the first landing was huge and beautiful. The light arrangement was the nicest I had ever seen in my life. When we got into this sanctuary area, it wasn't very brightly lit, but everything was magnified. The beauty of certain things, like a lot of the things were gold-plated or gold trims. The little altars where you had the spirits that had materialized, they photographed them, and then they had paintings made of them. And there was probably about maybe 100 of those around the place.
Sort of like a shrine?
Yeah, and underneath there was a little altar where you have incense and things that they would use in their prayer sessions and things like that, devotions to certain spirits. And some of the objects in there, the priest said, were solid gold. It was a unique experience to see that. I felt that these people had power, and they had a lot of it. Like the priest mentioned, there's thousands of spirit worshippers, in different societies of spirit worshippers in this world. But he says, we are the elite. We know the real truth about the Master and his angels. And they're not hideous-looking beings. They are gorgeous creatures. And from the paintings that they had on the walls of that worship room, they were unique beings. Especially there was a painting of the fallen Lucifer above his altar. And that was very fascinating, because he looked like a man of great intellect, high forehead, the way that he looked with his eyes, the way he had the eyes looking. It gave you a depth of perception of somebody that is very, very knowledgeable and
powerful.
Powerful, yeah.
The only answer to witchcraft, the only way that anybody's ever succeeded in getting out, has been through the blood of Christ. Witchcraft is real and supernatural.
In rock music, you must be an initiated witch, a coven member. That means you're a minister.
And he was dressed in a black robe, holding a black candle. On the right-hand side was a black cross hanging upside down. On each side of the walls, there were pictures of hell, like demons casting people off into hell flames with pitchforks. I looked at him and I said, "You're a devil worshiper." And he said, "Yes." He said, "We know where the true power is." And I mean, the people made me feel so comfortable and so welcome. And you'd look over on a table and there'd be lines of cocaine, and there'd be mescaline, there'd be heroin. I mean, everything that you could imagine would be on this table. And they said, "If that's what you want, there it is." And they looked over here and they said, there was a line of women sitting on a couch. And they said, "If that's what you're into," he said, "all you got to do is point out that woman, we'll send them back in the back." And then one night they started talking about sacrifice. And I looked at them and I thought, I don't know about this.
So the priest said, "Look, fellas, I'm not going to pressure you into anything, okay? But I want to show you what the spirits can do for a devoted servant."
You were chosen by high-powered demon spirits to be a part of their human, special, privileged group.
One of the steps on that plan said this: we will infiltrate the education and media system. We will seize the minds of all youth. We will implant within them satanic doctrine, theology, and ideology. And as he reaches adulthood, he will pass those things down from generation to generation until we have captured the minds of every individual. How many know that Satan doesn't come through the front door? He never comes at you from the front, because that would be giving himself away. He slips in through the back. They have found a way to make evil look cute, and we're buying it by the drove.
The television has a very absorbing nature upon people. You begin to accept that what you see on television is reality.
The most feasible way, he says, to please the spirits is to deride Christ and his people. You see, the entertainers, they have these crosses. This is a form of blasphemy, a form of deriding Christ. They were to see to it that humans would be made to believe that Satan and his angels do not really exist.
Anybody in the last 2 years to come on television must be an initiated witch. To be a member of their staff, actors and actresses, you must bear the scar of initiation. Any of the new shows coming on, you can just check them off. Those people belong to a witchcraft or Satan's brotherhood somewhere, or they wouldn't be there.
When you get into a secret society of spirit worshippers, and especially when you're invited there by the direction of the higher-ups in the spirit world, you never get out of there alive. Because as soon as anybody strays, the spirits will tell the high priest right away what's taking place.
The only answer to witchcraft, the only way that anybody's ever succeeded in getting out has been through the blood of Christ. Witchcraft is real and supernatural.
Poof, there go the car. Poof, there go the crib. Poof, 100 mil. Woo. David Copperfield. David Copperfield. David Copperfield. Poof.
Turns out David's favorite movie is the same as mine, The Wizard of Oz. On the big screen, on the beach. Now what could be more magical than this?
Oh, here it comes, here it comes. Are you a good witch or a bad witch? Linda! Love it, thank you.
There's no place like home.
And to these people, they are sold to the fact that Christ will not return to this planet with power and great glory. Christ will abdicate all claim to the planet because he knows that it is lawfully and rightfully Satan's.
Who's the greatest magician, Dave, besides yourself?
Jesus Christ.